I am your host, Joshua Penteloresco. I write stuff and podcast too, and I also apparently I draw as well. My guest is Kelsey Rae Barthel, and Kelsey is here. She's ready to rock and roll. And
Yeah.
Kelsey, I promised I wouldn't ask too many evil questions, but I lied. I got to go and start with, and that's this: if you have anything incriminating you'd like to say, make it good.
Oh, incriminating. Oh,
Incriminating.
man.
We're live, like we're totally live. We're totally live on air.
Hmm.
So we are at that point now where it's like you want. I mean, if we're gonna get to the good stuff, I mean, we gotta be entertaining, right? We're in front of an audience now, and there is an audience watching us, so they're gonna want to know the good answers to the big questions, right? So, I mean, so if we're gonna do it,
Yeah.
then that's a good question, right? So
Yeah.
if there's anything incriminating you want to say, I mean, make it
Hmm.
good. No?
Yeah. Hot topic. I don't know if anybody's into the different Christmas carols versions. I am very into those, and I will say that the Mickey Mouse one is hot garbage.
There you go.
Yeah,
Controversial right
that's
there.
my hot take.
What does Mickey do? Like, which one does he do? Or is it all of them?
He does like just they Disney just does a version of it, but it kiddies it down too much, and it like takes next to nothing from the source material.
So is it like the Scrooge McDuck Christmas Carol?
Yeah, like Scrooge
Oh, okay,
McDuck, and he like gets rid of his girlfriend because she can't pay the rent and stupid stuff like that.
You can swear on this podcast.
It's
It's
so.
okay.
Oh, okay, good.
Yeah,
I'm just like, oh wait, am I allowed to swear? I don't know.
I'm not. I don't care. Like I'm.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, but no, well, Disney's a strange company on one hand because
Yeah.
Disney has this tendency to Disney has this tendency to they want to cater to kids on the one hand, but they also are an adult. They are an adult company now. Like they are a
Yeah.
very very adult company. They have news networks like ABC. They have sports networks. ESPN is owned by them. So I mean
Really?
they are in such a range of things that
Yeah, they
they're all
basically own most of my childhood.
yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
They own all of our. Like I'm a superhero guy. I'm like, well, Marvel is theirs,
Yeah.
and my worst nightmare is that they own DC someday. Because if that does happen, it's like, well, on the plus side, the amalgam universe is possible again, but on the other side, it's like, like
Yeah, you're like they could probably do the live action movies pretty good, but like I really like the animated DC movies. Like those are really well done.
yes.
Like for every live action DC movie, I'm like I can point out one of the animated ones that did basically the story it did, but better.
Well, yeah, because DC's animation department has got some incredibly talented people.
Oh
I'm
yeah.
actually interviewing one of them on Friday, believe it or not.
Ooh,
Yeah. So, but
can't wait.
yeah, I'm drawing with her. She's been I've talked to her before. She's really cool. Her starting gig
Yeah.
was Avatar: The Last Airbender. So just yeah. So yeah, so I had so yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So I mean, you meet people, right?
Yeah.
And one thing leads to another. But so it's true what they say. You are literally 5 people away from meeting absolutely everybody. It's true.
Yeah.
Like it really is true that you have that ability to do that. So it sounds to me, Lo, that I hear it. There's an inner Disney, even though the Christmas carols will suck. There's an inner Disney child in there somewhere.
Yeah, like a lot of kids, I was like raised on the Disney movies and everything. And I was actually like morely raised on like the Warner Brothers cartoons.
Oh, okay.
Like I really loved I watched the Batman Superman Super Hour on the WB.
Oh yeah,
And
there's one.
yeah, where they would
That's a good
basically
hour.
take like half hour of one of the half hour episodes of Superman, one of the half hour episodes of Batman, and they would switch when they had it, like which
Yeah.
one came first. And I only had time to watch the first one, so I'd always wish it was the Batman one.
It actually wasn't that bad. Like
It wasn't that bad, but
it wasn't that bad. Like actually, to be honest with you, my favorite Warner Brothers cartoon is probably the Teen Titans, like the original
Oh
Teen Titans.
yeah.
That one's my favorite. That one is of all the superhero ones because that one it's so different. Like it has an Avatar esque like
Kind of anime feel to it.
to
Yeah.
it, like, fun. I love the voice cast. The voice cast is
Oh yeah.
amazing. They kept them for Teen Titans Go for a very good reason.
Yeah.
But but I mean, it was just a good show. I think it was them taking the most chances. The other one I'm a real big sucker for is Batman Beyond. I think
Oh
Batman
yeah,
Beyond
Batman
is
Beyond was like a very underrated kind of show. It was really good. It had a lot of the same aesthetic and feel of the Batman animated series, just in futuristic feel.
well. I just love the fact that it was Batman, but it was different. It was
Yeah.
the thing about Bruce Wayne. Like the thing I love about the good thing about Bruce Wayne is you know who he is.
Yeah.
It's also the bad thing about Bruce Wayne is you don't know who he is.
Yeah, you see this new guy in there.
It's a new guy, but it's also the dynamic he had with Bruce was like it was so interesting, right? It wasn't he was a Batman, but he also kind of was himself, and
Yeah.
it was cool where they were alike, and it was also very cool where they were different.
Oh, did you see the Return of the Joker movie?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That was like where like the Joker was kind of like thinking that he would be just like Batman, and he's like, nah.
Well, I mean that illustrated the difference between them perfectly,
Yeah.
actually, because the
He
Joker
used that
was
as an edge.
well. Also, the Joker wasn't a good villain for him. Like
No.
in terms of the Joker works because Bruce has no sense of humor,
Yeah.
right? But Batman Beyond,
They're
Terry
kind of
McGinnis,
polar opposites.
well, Terry has a sense of humor. I think why I like Terry so much is he has a sense of humanity that Bruce
Yeah.
does. Bruce is more Grant
He's more
Morrison.
like put apart from normal people.
Well, but yeah, I mean, by design. I mean, he's a rich kid. I mean, the whole Batman concept is I'm a rich kid that can buy his way basically the superpower.
Yeah.
But I also dig the fact that I mean, Bruce has a very unique story, and that's why his story, like the overcoming pain and making a difference, is what makes Batman such a really integral thing. And Batman can work anywhere.
Yeah.
But what I like about Terry is, Terry is more like an average person. He's not Bruce and he's stoic. He's mean.
Yeah.
He
He
had some of those tendencies.
grew up in a working class family, and
yeah, but
Yeah.
he has some of those in him. Like he has
Yeah.
that ability to be, Batman.
Mhm.
But he's also his own person, and that's always I think that was what made that show work really really well.
Yeah. I also really liked the dynamic between, yeah, like you said, the dynamic between Batman, Bruce Wayne, and Terry, because like grumpy old Bruce was like one of the best parts of that show.
Oh yeah, Grumpy Old Bruce is awesome. Like
Uh,
just he's old, he doesn't give a crap, and
Yeah.
it's great. But it's also interesting too because Batman as a father is always an interesting story, and
Mhm.
like Terry in some ways is a lot like him, in some ways very different, but in other
Yeah.
ways a lot like him. So I found Terry to be very very like I say he's a very interesting character. I think of all the Batman alternatives, he's my favorite one, just based on the fact that you can do so many different things with
Mhm.
him. That's the thing about him. That's what I like about it.
Yeah.
I'm not crazy about the fact that there's a big problem I think with North American syndication in the fact that Act threes aren't really thought of very much. So there's an Act one, the origin story, Act two, like they are into whatever it is they're
Yeah.
doing, but there's no conclusion. Like there's
Yeah,
no
they don't really
happy ending.
know where they're going to take ideas to
Yeah.
their fullest conclusion.
Well,
Like they think they have a cool idea and they put it out there, but then they don't really know where it's going to go. So sometimes it goes into either really surprising or really kind of dumb areas.
Well, because there's no Act three, right?
Yeah.
Like there's not an end to the story. Whereas with you look at say a Japanese anime, okay?
Yeah.
There's a beginning, there's a middle, there's an end. Now, don't get me wrong, like some are very long running. Like,
Some are very long running. Some fall into that problem with they don't know where to take them, so they just keep going in crazy directions. But other ones are very like tight, very good stories.
I feel Japan goes more that way than not knowing what to do with it. Like they have,
Yeah.
I mean, everybody's got that hit syndrome. Like, oh my god, we got a hit. What are we gonna do with it? Like, right,
Yeah.
right. It's a good problem to have, but at the same time, there's a certain integrity in your story. Why?
Yeah.
Like, I think so. One of my favorite comedies was How I Met Your Mother. It's a it's a fun show, but
Yeah, I liked it.
but I would have liked it better if it was about half as long.
Yeah.
Right, because it was a hit. They filled it out. It would have been a better. I have 4 really great years.
Yeah.
Versus 8. Versus I would say you still had 3 really good years, but you had 5 years where it was like,
yeah, right? It's like I could take it or leave it.
yeah. It's like,
It's one of those shows that kind of overstayed its welcome.
Well, I think. Well, again, you have a hit, right?
That's what happens with a lot of shows is that you have a hit and then they just say keep going with it and it kind of just overstays its welcome.
Look at the Simpsons. I mean, the Simpsons. I mean,
yeah. Yeah, there was this show. I don't know if you've ever seen it. It was called Chuck.
Yes.
Yeah, you saw that show should have ended 1 season shorter than it did because they had a good ending with the 1 season, and then they kept going and ruined it.
Well, I'm like, you make the man, right? Again, it's really hard to say no to money. It really
yeah,
is.
exactly. They think they're going to end it, and they're like, no, we want 1 more. And they're like, oh dear. What do we do?
So you got your first book of, like, for when you came on my show way back in the day.
Back in the day.
I think it was episode 200 something. Like, I'm at episode 400 something. So I mean, it's been a while. But you had a book out. You did a book.
Yes.
You released a book. How was that? How was that whole experience for you?
It was good, and it was like I weighed the good and the bad. There was like a difference of expectation, but there was a lot of really good parts where like made me feel like a real writer. And then there was like other parts where it just like the like lack or the expectations going a different way kind of hit you like a freight train. But it's been a journey. It's been like a journey, and I'm very like glad for it. And it was a very good for my first experience.
So can you go a little bit into that, a little bit more detailed? Like, what was it about? You said you had an expectation. So what was your big expectation when your first book came out there? Like I mean, we all want to be the $1 million bestseller, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. The expectation was mostly that like doing like the certain things that I should have done before the book came out, and just like certain things that I found out that I had to really take on the burden of doing myself. Like for the main thing is marketing.
Yes.
Like that's something that like I found that I had to really take the brunt of doing that myself, and I found that is really hard.
Well, yeah. It is because it's awkward, right? Because here's the thing, right? I'm awesome, and I have this great book out there, ladies and gentlemen. This book is going to change your life.
Yeah,
it doesn't feel authentic at all. Like because you don't look at your book. You don't look at your book like kind of like in the same point of like, I worked on this day in and out. I kind of put the sausages together. Yeah. And I know what this is. This is a story I'm proud of.
Yeah.
Right. But it's a story. Right. So it's but on the flip side, this is the catch of what I just said there too is it's your story. And it's your story, right? You're not just how long did it take you to write that first book? I'm just curious.
It took me like a year or like a year and a half between campaigning and getting it out there. and then it took me, I think, 3 years before that to write it.
So you spent 4.5 years of your life in this book,
Yeah,
right? Right?
my whole life just getting this out there.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, so here's the flip side, right?
Yeah,
You'd be the most enthusiastic person in the room about your book because look at how hard you worked on it,
yeah.
right?
And I find it's like kind of hard for like especially a lot of writers because by nature there's a lot of writers that are very introverted. And in order to do that like marketing stuff, you really got to put yourself out there, and that can be very scary, and that can be very like nerve-wracking, especially for like your anxieties. But
Well,
it's something that you have to do, and something that you just have to bear with.
well, absolutely. Well, no, absolutely.
Yeah,
You have to figure out how to make yourself comfortable in that environment. So I'm going to go
yeah,
this direction with marketing.
yeah, exactly.
It sounds to me like you're still kind of. I'm not going to say maybe nervous is quite the right word, but it's not something you're
A little bit.
comfortable with.
No, I still haven't quite found my niche with marketing. Still working at it, like making small strides, learning new things. Just trying my best to kind of just keep it going.
Which is ultimately the key.
Yeah, which is ultimately all you can do. But you also like it also took a time like where it was pretty low at that time where you have to kind of step back and look. It's like how much of yourself are you willing to put into this, and
Mhm.
like how much of this like do you really want, and you have to really assess what is really important to you.
Yes,
Yeah, like and you shouldn't have to sacrifice like your just overall happiness for it.
no, I well,
Yeah,
here's the thing, right? Everybody goes like, "This is the dream,"
yeah.
and it is a dream. It's a real dream. But
Hmm.
the thing about it is, I mean, okay, this is my position. Like with what I'm doing,
Yeah,
I'm trying to get out of working for a day job because I resent the idea that I have to work for somebody.
yeah.
But right, that's just me. But that so going to what I want, that means I have to find a niche, which I think I found doing this, right?
Yeah.
Right? That people watch or gravitate to and move towards and build towards. And what I find with this is um, what I found was okay, what do I really want? Like what am I trying to accomplish here?
Yeah.
For you, was like for you, some people it's just about getting the story out there. This is my story. I've put this together. I'm really proud of it. But this is my story and here it is. And I want to do another story. And there's nothing wrong with that, by the way. Like if
Yeah.
that's all you want, phenomenal. But I guess I should ask this: do you want to make this your living? You want to write books and advertise and make zillions of dollars doing it?
Eventually, I would. That's something that kind of want to put more effort into later in life when I get more into a like a centered headspace and a more like a stability when I can afford to take the time out and try and do this seriously because of the responsibilities I have at home. That
Like
so
like like
yeah.
like
Hmm?
kids or paying a mortgage or like
Yeah, just paying off like debts and trying to get like me and my husband into a house, like working towards
okay.
these life goals. And
Ah,
that's the great thing about being an author is that it doesn't really have an age limit to it.
no, there's no age
Yeah,
limit at all.
you can work towards like being a full-time author when you're 50 or but right now I'm at the point where I'm just trying to finish this like series and get it out there. And I have like a ton of other ideas for books that eventually I want to try and get an agent and all that other stuff,
So
like get an agent and
so
try
you
and get
want
with the publisher.
so you're trying to so your ultimate goal is traditional publishing then is that's your master plan?
Yeah, eventually. But
Okay.
with the Beyond the Code, I'm trying to get it back onto Inkshares because they actually make like a really good product and they put all these like sources in like editing and everything into it for you. And beyond that, like if that doesn't work out, then I'll do self-publishing for the Beyond the Code series, and then I'll just keep writing my stories and see where they take me.
No. So I'm going to ask. I'm going to say. I'm going to ask a deeper question then, I guess. So your ultimate goal, your ultimate goal would be then for you. I go to a Chapters or a independent bookstore or a Barnes and Noble or whatever the bookstores are going to be in 5 years, and I'm going to go on the shelf. Okay, so you're B. So A is Catherine Asteria, okay,
Yep.
right, and B is you. Like you want to be the B on that bookshelf. Is that accurate? Is that's what you envision going forward? Is that
that's what I would like, and like my ultimate goal.
No, there's nothing wrong with that. It's just I think the thing I think about this business, the industry of writing, is you have to be very, I think, conscious what your goals are.
Yeah.
Right. For example, if I were to be traditionally published, like the dream for me, is, if I were to go traditional publishing, would be the tour superstar, like someone like Brandon Sanderson or a Doctorow, someone with a big profile that the publisher pushes. I get to be that. Like when I was a kid, I read Robert Jordan. I loved Robert Jordan. He was a big time tour author. I'm like, I could do that too.
Yeah.
Now, I've evolved quite a bit. I'm very, like, for me as an indie publisher, I really dig indie publishing. I really actually do, because what I find with indie publishing is, is that people have this tendency to, kind of poo-poo it a little bit.
Yeah,
and, right?
Kind of frowned upon.
It's not as frowned upon as it once was.
It's a lot more normalized.
Well, yeah, because traditional publishing is shrinking, right? So for me, this is how I look at. I've been traditionally published too, like on Little Small House, Miracle Publishing. If you are listening to me, how you guys doing? Yeah, nice to see you. But here's the thing, right? I look at the fact that people have this tendency to, there's all these like niches out there of books that aren't being published anymore by traditional publishers. There are still those readers out there, right? So if those readers are still out there, someone has to serve that niche, and that can be me, right? Yeah. There are tons of people that make a great living being an independent author. Now, it's not for everybody. There's a lot of work. There's a lot of marketing. You have to be willing to make an ass of yourself. Fortunately, I'm very good at that. That particular thing for myself. But the thing about it is, right, the thing about being an author is what's your goal? A lot of us want that validation for traditional publishing. And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, and also there are people like Wanda Lee, there's Catherine Sarah, there's people that make a living consistently in traditional publishing and do very well for themselves. And why can't it be you? Why not? Right? Yeah. But I also, I'm at that point now where, again, strictly speaking, I'm a businessman.
Yeah.
You're a businesswoman in this world. So the question I ask every author, if you are going to go down traditionally published, what are you going for? Are you going for validation? Are you going for access? Are you going for, to be that author you've always dreamed of being? What is it for you that makes you really want to be? Why do you want to be that B on the bookshelf? What does that actually mean for you?
Well, I mostly just want, the reason why traditional publishing would be good is the thing. What I look at, this is kind of a silly thing of mine, but I would love it if I could just concentrate solely on writing my books and have other people do that marketing and stuff. That's what I want. I want to be one of those strange recluses that just pumps out books and nobody knows anything about.
You want to be this mysterious writer, you want to be.
I just want them to take whatever I to sell my stuff for me, because I really don't like that part.
Well, it's not for everybody, for sure.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. That's, I think. I mean, you got to be. I do think. I mean, going for it, I will have to give you a little bad news. Just a little bit bad news.
Well, yeah, that's something that's probably not going to happen. But
It's not even. It's not that it won't happen. I think here's where I think you can still kind of do that to some degree. I do
yeah,
think but this is the thing, right? We're
yeah,
having a conversation, okay?
yeah,
Let's just say hypothetically up the road that you become rich and shameless and you're a publisher. Well, we've had this chat right here, right now. I've had this opportunity to create an impression with you while you're here. Now, maybe out up the road, you're like, hey, you know what this guy would be great at? Tooting horns about my books because I need someone to do that, and that's it. But let's flip that around. Let's say up the road, I'm a publisher and I'm looking to publish authors. One of the things I would be looking for, one of the things I would be looking for is I'd be looking at an author that's willing to how an author that's okay with coming out on the air, talking to somebody like me and going,
yeah.
"Hi, my name is so and so, and my book is awesome and made of cheese." Maybe not necessarily made of cheese, but you get the idea, right? Like, the idea is, I think traditional publishing is going to evolve. It has to evolve.
Oh yeah.
We're a lot more connected in terms of the digital world. The moment the internet basically got into your house, like, it's a small world after all. And it really is.
Yeah.
And I think you're gonna have to make peace with this little part of the pie.
Oh yeah.
You're gonna have to do interviews. You're gonna have to talk to people. You're gonna have to say, hey, now you don't necessarily gotta be doing this all the time, but you have to be willing. I think there has to be a willingness to do it, if that makes sense.
Well, yeah. Like that was just mainly like if there's no limits on what the finish line is, like no limits, no question.
You can get to that.
But yeah, this is like going on interviews, talking to people, going on book tours. That's just part of it.
Yeah.
Like I did like a little like a book tour mostly in the Edmonton area with different chapters and everything. Did signings, which were really cool. Like that's something that's like I said has its ups and downs, and it has its like downs where like nobody shows interest. Like I have this really weird story from one of my book signings. It was at one of the chapters, and there was a guy who he had what was the author's name? I can't remember. It was an urban fantasy book that he had on his lap, and he came to see what I was doing, and I told him, I'm like, oh yeah, I wrote this urban fantasy book, and like selling it out today. And then he just like shows me that book, and then he's like, this is urban fantasy, and then he walked away. I'm like, what?
Okay.
It was the strangest thing that happened to me at one of my book signings. And like then there's the other side, like the really good stuff. Like whereas at another one of those signings, and this little kid who's like, oh my god, I can't believe I'm meeting an author, and he has to get his picture taken with me, and it's the cutest thing.
That's cool.
And it just made my day.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course. Like, how can you not? You made somebody else's day, and you can see the impact of what you do in that situation, and that's always great, because it's like sometimes like, hey, we are in our little corners of the world, and we kind of wonder to ourselves, does what we do really matter? And we ask that question honestly, because I mean, we're making stuff up. I'm writing about a killer cupcake right now. I mean, seriously. I mean, I don't know. I mean, that's going to make a big impact on the world. I'm also but I'm writing other stuff too.
Yeah.
But the thing is, I mean, you don't know what that creativity, what that's going to impact going forward. I mean, all you can do is put it out there and hope for the best, but you don't see that. But
like, you can end up being someone else's favorite author. You don't know.
So I'll give you mine. I'll give you a cool story. I don't usually talk about it too much. I'm in Phoenix. I'm in Phoenix, Arizona. This is Phoenix Comic Con 2015. My first day there. And so here's my down story. So this old lady comes up to me. It's like, hey, are these your books? Yeah. Can I take one? I thought
You
she
have to
was
pay
gonna
for
buy.
it.
I thought she was like she was asking, can I see one? It's like, yeah, sure, I'll see it. You can see it. So she went, she took it and walked away, and then got lost in the crowd. So yeah.
You're like, wait, no.
Well, it was one of those things where you just looked at that and went, well, I kind of said yes.
You're like,
All right. Right,
okay.
but okay, wait, here's the other really good one. I actually ended up this kid came by and she had a wonderful disorder. And she was looking at one of my comic books. I had comics for sale at the time, and
Yeah.
she looked at it and she's like, yeah, and it was my last copy of the book. So I was like, would you like it? She's like, oh really? I said, yeah. So I gave it to her.
Oh.
Yeah, it was my last one. It was my last copy. So I mean, I wanted to get rid of it, but also in the same token, like, why not make somebody's day? So a little later on that weekend, before I disappeared, they were like, you really made her day. Like, you really, really made her day. She's reading that comic, it's hers, and it's like, that's a cool feeling, right?
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, that's the stuff we know. Like, a story can impact someone's lives, and that's the fulfillment part of what we do. Like, it's not.
Yeah.
I love my podcast. I love reaching out to people, but honestly, I love telling stories more. And like I said, I'm more known for the podcaster than the writer, and I'm okay with that. But if you really want to make my day, read a story of mine and tell me how much you liked it, because I mean, there's no greater buzz. I mean, that.
Yeah, like there's no like it just like that's one of like the things that just gives you the best kind of high when you're when you're an author, is that if someone reads it and gives it like this crazy good review. Like for the audiobook of Beyond the Code, I got a review and the girl said, and like the review said like she cried so much, and I'm just like sitting there on the couch hearing about how this girl cried from reading my book, and I'm like, yeah. I'm like, wait, am I a bad person?
No,
it's like, she's crying for good things.
You got a legitimate so one of my favorite scenes in Fahrenheit 451 by Ray Bradbury is the scene where Montag gives his wife's friend a poem to read. And the poem made her cry. She couldn't figure out why, but it's like it generated a genuine, empathetic, emotional reaction, which opens the door to connections, which I think is like that's what we do. Yeah. Right? That's what we do. It's like, yeah, you're writing about superheroes Beyond the Code, right?
Yeah.
You're writing about
superpowered adventures.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Which, nothing wrong with that, but I mean, let's get rid of all the trappings for a second here. You want someone to connect to something fundamentally about something that you really care about. That's what we do. We don't just want like someone to go, hey, our concept, like killer cupcake. I mean, that makes you laugh.
Yeah, you don't just want like a tagline. You want someone to really connect with it.
Yeah, right. It's like, cool. What I would secretly hope people say, I read your story and it made me think. It made me question things. It made me feel like I felt better, renewed. That's what I want. All right. If I get that response of every reader, I'm hoping they'll spread the word and so I hit more readers. Yeah, that's partially because I want to make a living doing it too. But let's be honest. I can get pretty high off of a few people telling me just like how amazing, how much a book changed their lives. Like that's once in a lifetime. That's what pushes people to really, really, really invest in you.
Yeah.
It's not the concept. It's like the heart and soul of what you're writing about.
Yeah, where they can like relate to you, like connect to you, like through your work on kind of a fundamental level, and they feel like even if they never met you, they kind of feel like they know you.
Well, yeah.
Like I've gotten told that before, where she's like, I feel like I know this author just by reading her book.
And in one way you do. Like if the book's really good, we care about something we're writing about on some level.
Yeah.
So
Like if you're passionate about the story and you like just pour a lot of yourself into it, then they catch on to that. They feel that.
yeah, exactly. We
Yeah.
understand that. We understand when we invest and we connect, and that's a very
Mhm.
important part of what we do. So let's get deep here. Let's get really
Yeah.
deep here.
Oh.
What do you care about? Like, what are you writing? Like, nor the like you care about superheroes as an interest. What is
Yeah.
it about superheroes that you're passionate about?
Hmm. I just like the very like deep and a lot of times emotional like backgrounds that they go through that make up these characters and that you can kind of sense that from what they do. Like you sense like how like what kind of a person they are from like every action they do. Like I care about like really good character like development and progression, making these characters feel like real people.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's. I'm not. Okay, that's an interesting answer. Not what I quite what I was going for, but an interesting answer. So, like, for example, in your story,
Yeah.
like your character, like talk about a couple of your characters, and like not in terms. Don't spoil it too much for people who haven't read
Okay.
the comic book yet.
Yeah.
But give like an example of a choice, like as a writer, like why that fascinated you so much about, and it could be any characters in the story, but pick a character and explain like the choice. Explain a little bit about why they made a choice. Maybe not the climactic one, but a couple of choices in the story that maybe that might talk about what you mean that by that.
Well, there's a battle in the beginning of the story, and there's a choice that the main character has to do to hold back so she doesn't uh basically like seriously hurt or kill the person she's fighting with. And that's because like at a fundamental level she values life and she values like people's life. So
Okay.
that's why she was like, even though she has the power to do a lot of damage and to take someone down, she holds back.
So in that case, is that a blessing that she has that power or a curse?
Yeah, it's kind of both.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
She used to see it as a curse, but with like, and she sees it as because she had to fight and sacrifice to get that control. And there's a lot of times where she's afraid to use too much of it because it might go out of control.
Well, it makes sense though. Like I okay, this is like my example is like the strongest people I know are the gentlest. Not
Hmm.
like they're not the most intense or fierce. They're actually the gentlest people because they always put things with kid gloves. They're very gentle around people
Yeah.
because they recognize the fact that they are so strong. Right, right. I have found now I've gotten older and wiser. I recognize that I wouldn't want to be Superman because
Yeah.
I'd have not because I don't think he's a boring character. It's not because he's boring. It's because he has so much power.
Yeah.
He has
It's a
to
lot of responsibility that you take on.
not even just responsibility, just even the fact that could you imagine having to okay, even reading a book. You got some cool books behind you right now.
Yeah.
The idea that even reading a book, that if you put any real physical effort into reading this book, you might destroy it.
Yeah.
Right? You have to be. It's a practice of restraint to such
Hmm.
a degree, like that control required would be enormous. I mean, that, like the real if strength isn't to me that you can lift the house up. Strength to me is how you put it down.
Yeah.
Right. I don't care that you can lift the house. I know people in real life that can lift the house. I'm not. I'm much more interested in like what did they do with it when it's on shoulders? Do they just shrug it and the house just topples to the ground, never to be seen again?
Hmm.
Or are they able to like spin it over the head, da, 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 da,
Yeah.
and then
And then
put it
put it
back
down
down?
gently.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that says a lot more to me. That shows strength. Like that's
Yeah.
strength, right? So, um, all of which to say that I think that's the interesting thing about being a superhero. Like if you go to the really powerful characters, that's the thing you're talking about. It's one, it's not what they can do. It's about what they can't and why,
Yeah.
right? Someone so strong they can literally go faster than a speeding bullet would be. Or someone so fast, so strong they can lift a building or go faster than a speeding bullet. I mean, the big thing is most of the time you couldn't use that power because it just
Yeah, like with the Flash, like there was an episode of the Justice League when they're like trapped in their like worst fears kind of thing,
Mhm.
and like the Superman and the Flash have that's very similar fears. It's like the Flash fears that like he can just keep going faster and faster, and then he won't be able to slow down, and he'll be like kind of on a different level than everyone else.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, and then like with Superman, he fears that his powers will just continue to grow and grow exponentially out of his control.
Well, yeah, because then, like what good? Again, what
Yeah,
good power, right?
yeah, exactly. Then
Yeah.
he's just a danger to everyone he cares about.
Which says a lot
Yeah,
about who
which he's
Superman
afraid
is.
of. Yeah,
But that fear says an awful lot about who they both are.
yeah,
I believe it was Wally West's in the Justice League cartoon, right? Wally West, by having that fear, shows you what he wants is just to kind of be a little bit like everybody else,
mm-hmm.
right? And Superman wants to be strong, but not
Yeah,
necessarily in the way people think of Superman being strong. I don't want to be strong enough to have all this power. I want to
yeah,
be strong enough to control it,
yeah,
and that's a really interesting. And now we're talking about little like character moments, but that's the stuff people read about. It's not I can lift a house or I have like I can be a wizard that can do everything. No, it's not about that. It's about what you overcome. I think that's what makes really great stories. Is
yeah.
right. So
It's the journey to like realizing that,
yeah,
or to like fully accomplishing that. Like, no character should be perfect at the beginning. They should like have like clear progression throughout the story, and they should be a different person at the end than they were at the beginning.
well, hopefully, like we all
Yeah,
try to become better
because
people.
everyone like you can look back on your like of your past self and your person and your like person in high school, and you weren't the same person.
But one of the people that are like right.
Okay.
No, I
Yeah,
do.
that's not necessarily a good thing.
I've had this. I've had the luxury of traveling most of my life. I haven't really been in one spot for very, very long for an extended period of time,
Mhm.
and I can observe just how much people have and haven't changed just by looking at them. Because I have this unique perspective of I've gone outside, I've
Mhm.
gone to another town, I've come to town, and I leave town. And every time I come
Yeah.
to town, I can see the differences. Sometimes I leave town, I can see the differences too.
Mhm.
The people that actually frighten me the most are the people that don't change.
Yeah. Like you need to be able to like gain perspective of your lot in life,
Yeah.
and traveling and moving around really helps that.
Oh yeah. Oh no, you realize how small you are. So
Yeah.
I guess I want to ask a bigger question here. I think
All right.
you've done a novel. You have
Yeah.
an idea kind of where you are, where you're not. So when you release your second book, or about to try to release your second book really soon,
Yeah.
what are your goals this time? Now that you've done this once, now what do you want to do?
Do like put a lot more care into the the prep work and the prep work to do before the book comes out, like getting people to like uh like copies before so they can basically be the reviewers before the release, kind of build up more of an audience before the release, so the release is more of a big deal.
So you want
And
you're
just
working
kind
on.
of learn from the mistakes that I made, like releasing the first book.
How's your writing? Because I know this is mine. My second novel is very different than my first novel.
The second novel is a little different formatting than the first one. Like it, I have a thing about kind of structuring this kind of like a show, where in a show where you have like the premiere adventure that like gives you all the exposition and like puts things together. It's like a couple episodes linking together, and then after that it gets into more of like the episodic episodes. The second book is more of those episodic episodes where it's instead of one full like one linking adventure for the whole book, it's going to be 6 different ones in a linear fashion that link together by an aligning theme.
Okay, so
Yeah.
So different characters. Is this more like a teen book than the second one? Is it more like a teen
Yeah,
book?
it's going to be from the same characters, like Luna and Ranger, but they're more working towards a set mission, and you meet new allies, new enemies, and explore the world a bit more.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
interesting. So does that mean then that is this going to be the format you kind of have going forward? Is this the one you're more comfortable with, or is this something that was like kind of just for the story? It serves the purpose of this particular novel.
I believe this will be the format I'm going to be continuing for the rest of this series. And a lot of my other ideas are just like one shot or like small series is novels.
How big is this series supposed to be?
That I haven't completely worked out. I keep on having the like number five books in my head.
5's your number, but you're not sure.
Yeah.
It might be 6.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I know it's probably going to be longer than 3, but I think it's going to be 5.
You're thinking 5, and everything else is going to be like one shots or like trilogy.
And, yeah, like all my other ideas are basically like one shots or trilogies and stuff like that.
So then, okay, I asked this one now.
Yeah.
What have you learned about yourself doing this?
Oh, what have I learned about myself? I've learned that I'm a little more high-strung than I thought I was. But I also learned that I can pull myself up.
Which is good.
During the bad times. So yeah, even when I like have those days where I just don't want to do anything but just lie in bed, I still make myself get up. I still make myself go to work. I still try and make myself sit down and write. I still make myself go out with my friends.
You've learned some resiliency. It sounds
Yeah.
The resilient Kelsey Rae Barthel. Kind of like that. Kind of like that. That sounds like that's not a bad way to be. Hey, listen, keep flexing those pythons. Okay?
Yeah.
It takes guts to do it. It takes guts to put yourself out there. It does.
Yeah.
It genuinely does. The ability to say, "Here I am," is the most frightening thing of all.
Yeah.
Everybody notices you.
Yeah, and I've also learned to like kind of like you said, put myself out there. It's like meeting new people, and also learned just how like valuable like the author kind of networks that are out there, because I've met so many cool people just online and through these networks. That's really cool.
So, who's your favorite people besides me?
Who's my favorite people besides you? That's it. I have my ink shares, like a lot of the ink shares authors kind of we got the group going. And talking to them online is really cool.
So who are the ink share authors? I'm curious actually myself now. Like, who are they, like, specifically? Is there anyone you can name?
Let's see. I have Tahani Nelson. She writes this book called The Last. I hope I mispronounce it. I hope I pronounce it right. The Last Fohe. It's about like a woman warrior tribe of. They're kind of like warrior nuns, but not really. It's more of like a tribal thing. Okay. And it's a really good book, and she's like a really interesting person. Most of the people that I met are in the U.S., like around San Francisco, California. And Brian Fitzpatrick, he also writes a book called Mechcraft.
Okay.
That one's like futuristic with like nanobots that like you can use It's almost like futuristic magic, kind of technomancy.
Technomancy's cool.
Yeah,
I like technomancy. I like me some technomancy.
yeah, and he's very like he's one of the like most productive people I know. Into like the trying to put himself out there. I really wish I was as good as the marketing thing as he was.
Would you like some advice on the marketing thing?
Yeah.
Would you like some advice?
Sure.
Stop thinking of it like marketing.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is this. Okay, so people tend to look at marketing like, I gotta sell. Fuck
Yeah.
I gotta sell. What the hell do I know about selling? So here's my thought for you.
Yeah.
You know how to tell a story, right?
Yeah.
So why don't you treat marketing like you're telling a different story? The story is the story that the thing about marketing, okay? It's everything in terms of communication, we communicate with stories.
Yeah.
Right? Everything we talk about, everything we do comes down to the fact that we're referencing some kind of other story somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
So in your case, right? In your case, you're trying to let people be aware of the experience your story gives to people, because that's what's going to draw. Like we pay for experiences. The reason why no one's going to the movie theater right now is nothing to do with the fact it really doesn't have to do with COVID in the sense that you might get a disease and die. It's more the fact that when you go to a movie theater right now, it's not a theater experience right now. You can't sit beside people. You can't have obnoxious amounts of popcorn. You can't bring a kid to make out with. You can't watch this giant screen like in a crowd where there's a noise of people going on. Like if you go there, you're kind of isolated in your own little corner in your booth at the theater, and you're stuck.
Yeah.
So that's not a movie theater experience. You're going to have that move, like you want to feel like you're in a movie. You're right, or you're watching this movie, you're getting this experience. It's not really so much about the show, it's about the fact that you went out and did it. Same with a rock concert. Rock concerts have an experience, right? If you're at a pop show, you have people jumping up and down, you have dancing, you have guys fawning at the women on the stage, or you have women fawning at the guys on the stage, right? And maybe a little bit of both, the guys fawning with the guys, it's like either a little bit of both. You're paying for the experience. You're not paying the act. Whoever the act is providing that experience. That's the service they're providing. We're giving you something different. We're not giving you the same thing where you're sitting in a cubicle watching something, or you're like that. That's the thing, right? It's that interaction that we're paying for. Books are the same way. Books are interactive.
Yeah.
So why not tell the story of how your book's so interactive? What service are you providing to your reader? What kind of story are you telling?
Yeah.
If I'm going to pick up a Kelsey Rae Barthel book, I'm going to invest it, say 6 hours to read this bad boy, to hallucinate with this book. Because that's what we're doing. We're imagining.
That's basically what reading is.
So if I'm going to go through this hallucination, what kind of hallucination am I getting? Ooh. Right?
Yeah.
Right? Because if I think of it like that, you can describe that, can't you?
Oh, yeah.
Totally, right? How come? How is that not marketing?
Yeah. Yeah, and that's that's kind of like the pitch that you give to people, yeah.
Well, it's not just even the pitch. Even your whole advertising campaign can be that.
Yeah.
Right? You're trying to establish a relationship with people. You're not.
Yeah.
Yes, you want sales. But here's the thing. This is what I've learned. Maybe I don't know if it's worked this way with you, but this is how it's worked with me. Every time I go strictly for money, I get nothing.
Yeah.
Like, I get fuck all. Right? But when I go for a goal, like a very specific goal, like for example, I want to become an affiliate with Twitch. So I'm streaming every night. I'm about halfway there right now.
Oh, nice.
Right, halfway there. Week 4. This is the 3.5 week, right? Halfway there. Give it a take. So, what can I do to do that? Well, I'm streaming every night.
People.
Yeah, I know people that definitely does not hurt me at all.
Yeah.
But what I'm doing is I'm bringing a quality product. Anyone that's listening or watching this right now is getting an experience. They're watching you and I have a conversation.
Mm-hmm.
It's the best form of advertising for both of us because people get a sense of who you are now. Ergo, this is also marketing,
Yeah.
right? For you, right? That's what you're getting out of this, and this is also
Mm-hmm.
marketing for me because what I've done is this is the experience I've created. I'm giving you the platform to tell your story, which ultimately is your best form of marketing.
Ah.
That's my
Yeah, that's very good advice.
yeah, that's my advice for marketing. Don't worry about building relationships. Let
Yeah.
people know who Kelsey Rae Barthel is, and about what kind of stories they are going to hallucinate to.
Yeah.
And don't worry about anything else, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then, what kind of story am I telling? Who might be like that story, and how can I introduce myself to these people?
Yeah.
Simplified marketing 101, sales comp. And then once you start becoming a regular, once you start getting regular sales, then you put the facts and figures and you try to reach and engage more people and worry about things like scale and 80/20 and blah, 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 blah,
Yeah,
blah,
that's
blah, blah,
that's got a
blah, blah,
thing
blah,
where you
blah,
lose me.
blah, blah. Don't think of it that way at the start.
Yeah.
Start like this. I'm Kelsey. I'm awesome. And you got to believe it.
Yep.
You got to believe it. I'm
Gotta
awesome.
believe it.
Okay. And here's my books. Love superhero. If you love superhero, urban fantasy, or superhero science fiction, depending on how you want to look at this.
Yeah, depending on,
Yeah.
I had it. I had it put up as like a coming of age story once, and I'm like, okay, sure.
Yeah. Nothing wrong with that. Hey, it's a hero's
Yeah.
journey. Percival is one of the old stories told. Man, Peter Parker is a giant Percival story.
Mm-hmm.
I'm cool with it. If I'm the hero's journey, sign me up. I'm good.
Yeah.
Work, right? But
Yeah.
but that's the important thing, right? You have to be who you are.
Yeah.
And that's it. And don't worry about anything else. And you'll find your crowd. And your crowd will be like, Kelsey, 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 Kelsey. No, but that's what you want, right?
Yeah,
That's what you want,
exactly.
right? So that's your goal,
Yeah.
right? And then you write the best. And also ultimately the other great form of marketing is writing a damn good book.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Trying to bring up the quality of your writing, learn new things,
Oh,
hone your craft, kind of thing.
absolutely. Like
Yeah.
it's not a one shot deal that you're gonna have it all nailed down in one go. It's just
Oh yeah, no. You got to keep working at it, and
yeah,
it's something that you can like continuously improve. Basically, for you're never really done improving.
oh god
No.
no. I
Yeah.
the wiser I become, and we'll use wiser in quotation marks like this.
Yeah.
The wiser I become, the more I realize I have so much more to learn.
Yeah. The more you know, the more you realize you don't know as much.
I know nothing.
Yeah, exactly.
The first step of wisdom. All right, Miss Kelsey, I think we have a conversation here. What do you think?
Hmm?
I think we have a conversation here. What do you think?
I think we have a good conversation too.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it was fun.
It was fun. Okay, so I'm gonna ask one more question. We're gonna wrap this up. I think after this, I mean, you can plug and play whatever
Yeah.
is coming up here. But before we get to that, so we talked about marketing, developing relationships, and you
Yeah.
coming out of your comfort zone. So with book 2 on the
Mhm.
horizon, what's an area you want to improve upon? If you're going to say marketing, that's fine. But I want you to be specific about not marketing like the general market. Like, what specific area do you want to get better at with your next book?
I want to get better at more fluid prose, as in like make the writing flow a little better, because that's one of the constructive criticisms I've gotten in the past.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's a good goal.
Mm-hmm.
So you like your book? Like your next book? Is it awesome?
I really like where it's going.
Yeah. How close are you? How close
Huh?
are you to finishing it? I'm just curious.
I'm about like 3/4 of it done, and then I'm going to earn up some money, get it edited, get it to some beta readers, see what they think.
Very, very cool. And then,
Hmm.
so you sound like 4 to 6 months. Sounds about right.
Yeah,
Sounds
yeah, I
about.
should.
That sounds
That
about
should.
right.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah. Okay. So
Yeah.
you're almost there, and you're about to rock it again. Congratulations and good luck.
Thank you.
And maybe this time, maybe you go farther on this journey this time than
Yeah.
last time. So now we get to the fun part. You, Kelsey, have to plug not only your book, plug also where people can find you. And
Okay, so the book that my original book is called Beyond the Code. You can find it on Amazon, Inkshares.com, or Kohl's and Indigo. And the for this time only the digital copy as a kind of a way to give people something to read during these hard times. The digital copy on Amazon is completely free, so no commitment needed to get my first book, Beyond the Code. And the sequel is on Inkshares right now. It's called Beyond the Masquerade, so you can find that on inkshares.com. You can click and follow and share and maybe pre-order a copy if you like what you see.
how can people find you?
And you can find me on Facebook. You can find me on Twitter at BTC Inkshares, or you can find me on inkshares.com as well. You can find my author page. It has both my books on there.
So is it Kelsey R. Barthel or is it Kelsey Rae Barthel?
It's Kelsey Rae Barthel.
Okay.
I
And
like the
that
full name.
full name.
Yeah.
Kelsey, you're awesome. Nice to have
Oh,
you on
thank
the
you.
show. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for listening to this episode or watching this episode, just joshing wherever you were. If you want to support this show, you can do so a number of different ways. Subscribe to it. I'm on Twitch, twitch.tv/justjoshingpodcasts. I'm also on YouTube as a channel, Joshua Pantellaresco. I too have books for sale. Alice Zero and the Cloud Diver are available on Amazon right now. And coming soon is my next book, Lights Out. Either way, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Stay inspired. Keep shining in the darkness. And I will see you guys tomorrow.